So, I'm Perky, he's Pinky. Not really. Terry Seller, well-known printer and short arse. I'm Pete Bresser Photography and Digital Media. We want to talk to you a little bit about colour today. We want to talk specifically about why, when you send artwork through to your printers or you're putting it up onto a screen, why you don't necessarily get the colours that you think you're going to get. It's not about you, it's just the way we see it. That's briefly our presentation. But first of all, I want to give you a bit of science. Okay, so now light, all light, is radiation. It's part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And we're talking today about visible light, which runs from red, which is a very slow wavelength like that, to blue, which is very fast one like that. Okay, so that's what we're talking about today, specifically the colours that you see when you have something printed, something on your screen like this, or when you have something printed out like this. Okay, now most of the light that we see is reflected light. Okay, so it all comes mainly from the sun. So it's reflected off of everything. It's reflected off this table, off this chair, off of Lindsay, okay, off this beautiful pink shirt. Okay, that's what you're seeing. What you're seeing is the light bouncing through, hitting this shirt, and what that shirt is doing is absorbing some layers of sunlight and then bouncing it back, and you are receiving it through your eye. And your eye then takes that light through the lens, through the cornea, and bounces it off the two things at the back, the rods and the cones. You might remember that from your old science days. The rods are the ones that enable you to see the picture, the whole picture, but they only see black and white. And the cones are the ones that enable you to see colour. Okay, so now the thing about it is those images that collect on the back of your eye are automatically sent to the brain. It's your brain that actually makes you to see the colour, enables you to interpret the image that you're seeing. But the brain is very, very easily fooled because all colour perception is based on subjective, just the subjective elements. We'll cover that in a moment. So, yes, I've done that bit. Let's move on. Okay, so, as I say, what influences how you see colour? So, most of it is reflected colour, but there is some emitted light. So this is emitted light. It's sending its wavelengths right to your eyeball. Okay? But that's not how we see most light. What can influence it? The atmosphere. So when you see the sun, difficult to see today, but early in the morning you'll notice a more red light. Okay? It's because the atmospherics is eating away the blue end of the spectrum, so more light ends up with us. Right now at midday, it's a bluer, by comparison, light to the beginning of the day. Other things that affect your eyes. So your eyes, as you age, they change, they dull slightly, I'm afraid. If you know of Monet, the painter, he produced all these beautiful coloured images called water lilies as an impressionist painter. One of the things he did, as he developed cataracts over the years, his paints become redder and darker and actually a bit muddy, to be frank. To tell you how his cataracts done, he then painted more natural colours. So the other thing that causes problems is a thing called radiosity. Now this is where you get colour bleeding. So I'll take that cup which is white. If I put it against my shirt, I might just be able to see that the orange on my shirt is reflected in that white. That's radiosity. It's about colour corruption. All of those things are a problem. If you've got a room with white walls and a red carpet, that red carpet, when light shone on it, will radiate that red to those white walls. Now, with these things, monitors and TVs, you're seeing radiated light, but you can change the value of that light even on the device. Okay, so it means that you can make it warmer or cooler depending on what you want. And I want to show how easy it is now to fool the eye. So, okay, here, if you can make that out, you can see that there are two squares. One with an A on it, one with a B on it, okay? And you can see what I want to ask you is when you think those colours, those backgrounds on the background of the A and B are the same, would you say they're the same or would you say they're different? Hands up if you think they're different. Hands up if you think they're the same. You know. Right. So just join those together. They actually are exactly the same colour, that background, exactly the same colour. It's very easy to fool the brain into seeing these things. Now, there's some 3D glasses on your table, so I didn't have quite enough to share them around, but if you'd like to put a pair on, if you've got a pair, and this might be a little bit more difficult to see. Again, this is how we fool the eye. So you're now seeing one image in one eye and another image in the other eye. On the red lens, what we're doing is strengthening all the blue images. It's actually eliminating the blue and strengthening the red. So the red then becomes looking as white, so then the blue seems more prominent. But the other lens is exactly the opposite. So in the blue lens, it's strengthening the red light and eliminating the blue. Okay? So I don't know if you can see it, you might need to be closer. If you don't see it, do it. So this is these are shots that I did and converted to 3D a while back. This is my brother's cockerel, Rocky the rooster. And if you just, what I want you to do, just move yourself, just gently from side to side like that. Keep your head at the same level. You might actually even see as if there is a 3D movement within that. But it can't, can it? It's a still image. That's how your brain is being fooled. Okay. So, how do you fix these sort of problems? Right? Well, you can't really fix it. You cannot have an objective look at colour. It's all subjective. But what you can do is create some consistency. And you can create consistency by having calibrated monitors. Both Terry and I used calibrated monitors to do our work, which means that when we see a red, we're pretty sure it's a red, and when that red is shown, it's pretty much going to be close to what it would be if it's printed out. And just to illustrate this, there's no right and wrong of colour really, all right? Here's a picture of my lovely wife taken down at Rye Harbour a couple of weeks ago. You can see that this image, you'd say, yeah, that's right, that image looks great, all right? But here's another one, which has a slightly different process on it, so it makes it look more gold and more red within it, so it makes it look like friendlier and happier and things like that. They're both right. There's no wrong in that. But if I want that image, I have to make sure that Terry can take that and develop so it looks like that. If I want that one, similarly, I need to make sure that he's got that information. And you do that by making sure you've got calibration. So I'm going to hand over to Terry because he's going to take the next part really to show how you get to that. That one. Yeah.
Right. So, one of my qualifications in the print is I'm level 1 colour management, and that is all to do with the journey of colour through the supply chain and manufacturing from each device, from what you see on your laptops to what the printer gets. Now, as people are saying, this is RGB, this is everything that we see on every device, everything here. As you'll see on the right side, there's the RGB and the CMYK is the CMYK for print, and that is what can be reproduced in print. You can't reproduce these colours outside that. So if you see a colour shift in your print work, that is why, because it's outside of that, it's not within that controlled environment. And just to give you an idea of that, RGB, I don't think you've got a cassette back here, but you've got a digital camera, scanner, and there's your colour space, there's your RGB, which we all see, and in with that is what can be reproduced. And there's the journey from the CMYK printer. So people see that you've had print done and it's been a colour shift, or it's not the colour that you've matched. It's probably because of what you're seeing at the beginning, because as you see, this step-by-step process in the print is that we have all these devices set up to control each section so it's consistent throughout. Just to give you an idea, this is a job I've done for a fraud designer in London. She supplied me an image, that's in RGB, straight from her camera, and I turned it straight to CMYK for print. As you can see, the colour has shifted and it's died, it's gone ghosty, it's not back, it's not really great. When that gets printed, it won't be very good. So what I've done is I've done my colour management on that, and you can see from taking it from here to there, I've allowed it to be a lot more sharp and a lot more detailed, and instead of it being flat as it was previously. So that's where it's as well, is to bear in mind, it's always about your design files as well, getting your designers to set these up correctly. There's a lot of web and they don't have that print background. And they set these, and we receive these files in, and we've got lots of issues to overcome. And just to give you an idea of that, is that with RGB images, like your photos and that, is that 40% of the, 37% of the files that we receive is RGB, and they've not been converted to print. So when they go to print, you're going to get a colour shift, and it's not going to be the match that you expect on screen, because the process hasn't been done from the designer, or if it's yourself doing that. So a few hints and tips is that when you're approving print or approving your marketing materials, don't approve them on your phone because they're not calibrated. Don't approve them on your tablet. Just look at them from your laptop, from your Acrobat Reader or your Acrobat Professional. Don't view them from the preview application on your Mac or on the Windows, because that gives a different reading to what you get on the actual software that's installed. I think that's about it, really. Just
I think it is, yeah. What I was going to say just
quickly,
quickly,
warm in, by the way.
okay, is so if you're running an Apple Mac, your monitors, your system comes with calibration built in. Use it. Make sure the monitor you're using is calibrated correctly. If you're using a PC, you can still calibrate your monitor. You can buy calibration systems. They can be expensive, but there is a free software calibration tool called CaliBreeze, which is on www.calibreeze.com. It's free because it's paid for by advertising. It's advertising based in it, but it might just get you to the point where your images look how the way you think they should look when you actually print them out. That's about it.
Yeah, no, I was going to say it's not just with the print as well. It's the same for when Andy does his clothing. So we had one last week where I was just doing a job with him. Is that we sent them the logo and the vinyl, the colour of the logo didn't match up to the vinyl, so we picked the nearest vinyl to replicate that, and the client's happy that he was quite happy to proceed with that. And the same thing with sound is that with the signage, it's the same process, is that your design files will come back different on your signage as well as your clothing as well, so it all needs to be consistent throughout. Yeah.
Okay, just want to do those wave things again because I really like that. So this is red wave. And this is the blue wave. Okay. This is my Dartford. Okay, that's it. Any questions?
Green wave.
Yeah, it's this one.
That was his peach wave. Mexican wave.
Yes.
So you know you were saying the colours outside
Yeah, outside, yeah.
that look really primary, why can't they be reproduced?
It's just
Print?
It's just
Yeah, because he's
what happens is there are actually a number of colour schemes. So there's sRGB, there's ProPhoto, there's a whole bunch of them. But when it comes down to it, the devices that are around don't have the ability to get those colours in them. So when you get that's even true of these.
Yeah.
That's even true of these.
Yeah.
They won't show all the colours. There's the ability to show 16 million colours basically on most of these devices. Okay.
name them.
It starts with black, finishes with white.
So obviously as a designer, when I deal with colour, I would probably shouldn't sort of tell people this, but if you get something designed, or a logo design, and you get colours that are stated at that point, what they should do, and what I tend to do for every client is give them a breakdown of every colour. So I give them the CMYK and the Pantone, and the relative RGB and web colours for each colour that's used in their brand. So
Absolutely. That gives you the consistency that you need to go from one printer to another if you should need that from one system. So some printers can't do like large format prints, but as long as you've got the same information, you've got the consistency, and you should be able to get that right.
Yeah, what I was saying as well is that with having your branding guidelines, having the colour breakdowns, that helps us out a lot. So if you do have that, you pass that on to the printers and they follow that process for you to match your whatever you have printed, whether it's your clothing or
Which is what you
signage.
have fantastic cards that have got loads of colour on them.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
I'll just echo what Mark said. He designed my Steadfast Law logo, and he's the first designer I ever met who gave me that file. And now I can go anywhere with that file.
Yeah.
Why they don't do that, I don't know.
No, as they don't do it to lock you in, most of the
Yeah,
time.
well, exactly that.
To lock you in.
If you don't have that, go back. Well, I can do it for you. And, you know, just get the right colour.
Oh, you haven't got a question as well, have you? I'm
Yeah,
getting
just-
really hungry.
Sorry, Pete, I just wanted to ask Pete, did you say it's your brother that calls his cock Colin?
It was what, sorry?
Your brother-in-law calls his cock Colin?
My brother is a...
Cockerel? No, does he
Oh,
call
cockroach, no, the rooster's called Rocky. Rocky the rooster,
Rocky?
obviously. Yeah, Rocky.
My hearing, sorry.
Yeah, not sure.
Can you hear that, Joe?
It was a big cock.
When it was up, Paul said, "What's a cock?" I said, "Well, he is. He's a nice boy." I didn't realise that picture was there. We've got loads more questions, haven't we? But can I ask, because we're getting hungry and